Welcome back to the Shy Cities Boys podcast. With me, as always, is Jack Thiel. I'm Carl Liza. Jack, how's your day going, buddy? I see you got the Masters hat on.
Yeah,
How you doing?
it's not the Masters, unfortunately, this week, but doing good. Month of May. It is May 2nd, which is
Yes.
weird to say. NFL draft is over. We've been talking about it. I feel like for months, and now we're
Yeah, and
finally here. That
we're
breaks
gonna be
everything.
we're over the episode today, we're gonna be talking about the NFL draft. We're gonna go through every team, give them a grade for the draft, and any exciting players we are to see on a team. Then we're going to talk about the NBA playoffs. We're going to talk about how everything's in the second round today and how tonight the MVP is going to be announced. You're excited for that, I know. And then after that, yeah, everyone should be. And then after that, we're just going to do something brief about the baseball. Jack said he doesn't have a lot to say about the Sox. I have a couple things to say about the Cubs, and we'll do our surprising and underwhelming uh, part of the show, and then we'll be done. So, Jack, let's start with the NFL draft, and let's start off with the Arizona Cardinals. Why don't you share your screen right
I
now?
will. That's what I am doing. I'm going to
Let
share
the
the
let
screen.
the people see.
So yeah, we're going to go over every draft pick and then
Yes,
just kind of briefly go over. Not we don't have to go very
briefly.
into it,
Yeah,
but
we're just gonna top two, three guys, and then if one of us likes someone that they drafted after that, we'll talk about it.
yeah,
So first off, the Cardinals they traded back from 3 to 6 with Houston. Or no, my bad. No, with
yeah, they
I
traded
forgot.
with Houston. No, yeah, they traded with Houston
No,
and they traded again.
oh yeah, they traded with Houston, and then they traded again with Detroit to get the number 6 pick, and they got Paris Johnson Jr., who a lot of us thought was going to be there at 9 for the Bears, but and it didn't end up happening. So they got the best offensive tackle in the draft. Then LSU edge BJ Ojolari. I think one of us had him projected to the Bears at some point. And then Syracuse cornerback Garrett Williams. So what do you, if you're looking at the list right now, what would you grade it? Don't look at the NFL grade. What would you give it right
Well, I
now?
think it's also important to notice the draft picks the Cardinals got from that Houston trade.
Yeah,
They
they
have
got their
Houston's first. They have two first round picks now. The Cardinals next year,
yeah.
and look, the Cardinals know Kyler Murray for majority of the season.
Yeah.
Who knows what the Texans will do? You have a
Hmm.
potential to have two top five picks. Now, obviously the picks aren't on here, but I do give them an A. Paris Johnson, you need to protect your quarterback, even though Kyler Murray
Yeah.
won't be there. I do like the edge and BJ Ujulari, Garrett Williams. I thought they did a really nice job. Really surprised they took a quarterback in Clayton Tune. We'll see kind of with that. Cachal Clark, I kind of liked him a little bit. But I think the biggest takeaway from me is their potential draft picks for the 2024 draft because,
Yeah.
well, here's the thing. Do they like Kyler Murray? If they do,
That's the
they can
thing. Yeah.
trade they can trade one of those picks and someone's going to pay a lot for it. And they also can still get themselves a Marvin Harrison Jr. to pair up with Kyler
Yeah.
Murray. So I thought the Cardinals, they did well. They were in that position where they were probably going to go for Will Anderson, but they
Hmm.
said, let's get us an offensive tackle. Oh, they know they're not going to be good this year. So
Yeah.
I, because of that trade, I think they had one of the better drafts out of everybody.
Oh yeah. It was a shocker, let's to say the least, when Houston's picture popped up at 3 and Cardinals weren't there. So it's definitely shocking. I'd give it an A. I'd give it
Mhm.
an A, but definitely not just for the Paris Johnson pick, the BJ Ojolari pick, but I'd give it like you said for the picks they got next year with that first overall or the first round pick from Houston,
Yeah.
where Houston's probably not going to be good. They're
No.
they got see we'll talk about them later, but they're probably not going to be good because they still don't have a lot of pieces.
Yeah.
But right now, it's an A. So let's move on. The Atlanta Falcons. I'm going to start off here. I'm shocked they took Bijan at 8.
Yeah.
I'm very shocked. And they had Tyler Algier there. They have Cordell
Cordero.
Patterson
Cordell
there.
Patterson.
Cordero's still there. I think they just wanted to get another playmaker for Desmond Ritter to give him an absolute shot at being franchise quarterback for them. And I think Bijan's going to help that. He's not just a downhill runner. He can catch some passes out in the backfield. And then they took Matthew Bergeron in the second round. He's a great pick. He could have been a first round pick. Some people had him as the first round pick coming out of schools. And then one of my favorite guys, Zach Harrison, I had him going to the Bears. He falls to 75, and that's a great pick too. So I'm gonna give them I'll give them an A too, just on the first 3 picks they had.
I'll go with a B. I think
Yeah,
that, look, Bijan is easily the best prospect in this draft, but
yeah,
I don't think the Falcons need a running back. I just thought there were bigger needs there. I thought they really could have benefited off of taking Jalen Carter with that 8th pick, or even a Christian
yeah,
Gonzalez. But nevertheless, they got their playmaker. Now you have him, Drake London, and Kyle Pitts. That's pretty nice young core to have.
yeah.
I really like their late picks: Zach Harrison, Clark Phillips, and Marco Halams. I think those picks really helped the Falcons. I mean, Matthew Bergeson is a good one, but the Bijan one was just a little questionable. Like I said, he is the best prospect, but is that really what they needed right now? It is kind of
Yeah,
like what's holding me back. So I'll give them a B, and then
I respect it.
I'll go with the Baltimore Ravens. Ravens, look, big for them because Lamar Jackson just agreed to the contract right before the
Yeah,
draft. I do give them an A here. They have Odell, they have Rashad Bateman. So now you give them Zay Flowers. Zay Flowers, I feel like, is a Baltimore Raven. Quick, fast. This guy can really do some damage with this offense. And, they really just continue to address their needs. They got their receiver. Now focus to the defense. Trenton Simpson, Tavius Robinson, and Caillou Blue Kelly, who I wish the Bears could have got, if he was
yeah.
available around that time. I thought they did really well. They got some depth. And for the Ravens, I know they're going to be looking for that championship run because they've got their team. They've got good receivers.
Yeah.
They've got Lamar back. He's committed to play. And they've got a deep defense out there. So I give the Ravens an A.
Yeah, I like the Zay Flowers pick even at the time. They needed to add something to that core because Rashad Bateman, the Odell, they needed a speedster because both those guys they're not that they needed a slot and they got it. Trenton Simpson, he's gonna be good next to Roquan. That 1-2 pairing is gonna be good. He just looked like a Baltimore Raven. There's a lot of linebackers that you can just tell that they're going to be Baltimore Ravens or Pittsburgh Steelers, and I think Trenton Simpson fits in that category. But all that's being said, I think they did okay. I'll give it an A minus. Like, I did a lot of people, a lot of guys either fell or got
Yeah.
overdrafted.
Yeah.
Like, we're gonna talk about it. A lot of people fell. A lot of people got taken before they should have. But A minus for Baltimore right there. And with Buffalo, maybe the best tight end in the draft. I know
No,
we don't
no,
think he is.
no,
Oh, listen,
no.
we both think Michael Mayer is the best, but they took Dalton Kincaid as the first tight end off the board at 25, Osiris Torrance at 59, and my guy Dorian Williams at 91. I think they blew this out of the water. They got what they needed in a tight end. They're going to protect Josh Allen more, and they're going to secure that interior box on the defense with Dorian Williams. I think this was a great draft for them, and I'm going to give them an A. I'm not an A plus, not an A minus, a solid A.
I'll go A minus. I think that not taking Michael Mayer was their mistake, but they did need a pass catcher. And then Osiris Torrance, that's a steal at 59.
Yeah,
They said possibly late first round, early second
yeah,
round. So the fact that he fell, and then Dorian Williams is going to play in Tremaine Edmonds' spot. So
mm-hmm.
We have a day one starter there, A minus for them. Justin Shorter, him and Gabe Davis can kind of, be they can. I think they're going to fight for a spot. I just think the Dalton Kincaid was a miss because you had Michael Mayer right there, and Michael Mayer would have been a great fit for this Bills team. Next, the Carolina Panthers, who traded for that number one pick for the Chicago Bears. They got rid of DJ
Mm-hmm.
Moore. We knew it was quarterback. That's where they went. Bryce Young. But I don't know. Things just didn't really go well for them, in my opinion, after that Young trade. Jonathan Mingo, I like. I think a lot of people think
Yeah.
this guy can be a sleeper. But for me, that's really it. I don't like any of the other picks of where they're picked at. I think they can be decent players. But at the same time, I don't think they're really the right spot for them. I mean, Mingo will start alongside Adam Thielen. DJ
Yeah.
Johnson, Chandler Zavala, and Jamie Robinson all are going to probably get some playing time. But you know, I just don't really think it was that great of a draft for them. I mean, he,
Yeah, I completely agree.
they say B. I'll give them a B minus.
I uh I think they just won the draft by taking Bryce Young at one. Like that's the pick I'm certain they knew who they were taking for since they made the trade.
Yeah,
And I think I'm not my bad. I shouldn't say they won the draft, but I think they should get an A minus B plus just for getting their franchise quarterback at one. And then topping it off with Jonathan Mingo in the second round, who people say is going to be a top five wide receiver coming out of this draft.
yeah.
So I like it. I agree with you. Like the next three picks weren't the best. They could have gone different ways, but you can't judge everything right now. But we are judging, so I'll give it a B plus. I'll give it a B plus.
All right.
And then with the Chicago Bears, we're gonna go in more in depth after the whole thing. But right now, they traded back from 9 to 10 for a future fourth next year. They got Darnell Wright. They got Jervon Dexter Sr. Uh, how do you Traquan Stevenson, Zach Pickens, Roshan Johnson, Tyler Scott, Noah Sewell, Terrell Smith, Travis Bell, and Kendall Williamson. I like this draft class. I love it. I tweeted a couple of days ago, this is going to be maybe the best draft class in the Bears history. That they got their cornerstone at offensive tackle, two really good defensive tackles in Dexter and Zach Pickens. They got their number 2 or 3 in Tyquan Stevenson. Maybe the most explosive running back in the draft in Roshan Johnson. A steal of a wide receiver in Tyler Scott. And then my boy Noah Sewell, who I've had drafted or mocked to him for months now. I think this has the ability to be, like I said already, the best draft class in the Bears history. I I wish they went in different directions in the last three picks, but I think overall this is an A plus draft from them.
I'm gonna go with a B plus. I
Wow.
think that Darnell Wright was the right pick at number 10. Unfortunately, them only getting a fourth rounder for the Eagles was the
That
reason why.
sucked.
But other than that, I mean, Gervon Dexter Sr., Tyreek Stevenson, and Zach Pickens were both huge picks for them. Both of
Yeah.
those, I mean, all three of those guys are going to have a chance to start day one. And,
Mm-hmm.
you go to Roshan Johnson. I'm very torn about this pick just because he is a beast, but is it what the Bears really needed? I don't think this guy is going to be a star. He's going to be a good role player, but is he a star? I don't know.
I think he is.
We'll talk about, how are the Bears going to split these carries now going in. Tyler
Yeah.
Scott, that was a steal for them. I think we
Mm-hmm.
had him in a couple mock drafts, but he is now probably going to be inserted into that number 4 receiver spot, and he should. This guy is fast, he's explosive, and probably also a guy we'll see on special teams. Noah
Yeah.
Sewell, another great pick for them, a steal, you could say. I saw that people were pulling up people's early mock drafts for this year's draft last year. and someone had Noah Sewell at number 22.
Oh
So
wow.
good pick. Very deep linebacker room now for them. And
Yeah.
I'll be curious, Noah Sewell. There's gonna be some good competition between Sewell and Sanborn. I feel like those two
Yeah.
guys are really gonna compete. The last three picks, I agree with you, kind of up and down, but Terrell Smith at secondary. I mean, you're just trying to build a nice secondary room there, and then
Yeah.
go on defensive tackle with Kenshaw or I say Travis Bell. And then we always said they should take a safety just in case as Eddie Jackson thing
Yeah.
doesn't work out. That's what they do with Kendall Williamson, like from Stanford. Obviously, I think the biggest question mark was why they didn't take one edge at all.
Yeah,
We'll
I know.
obviously talk about that more, but it seems that they might be going to free agency. Next,
Yeah.
Cincinnati Bengals. This was a team who I'm kind of shocked they didn't take Michael Mayer with that 28th pick. I don't think we ever had a mock draft where they didn't take a tight end.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but Miles Murphy is still good. Let's not get that wrong. Great pick for them. DJ Turner is another great pick at 60. Jordan Battle at 95. I really like those three picks. Charlie Jones, they went really receiver heavy. I mean, only two of them, but still, I was kind of shocked by that. They took a punter, which was very interesting. But at the end of the day, I give them a B plus. I think the Miles Murphy really helps them on the edge. DJ Turner is such a great pick for them because they need it. Can't trust Eli Apple. I like Jordan Battle as well. And then, the other guys aren't bad. Chase Brown can fit in there. Who knows what's going to happen with Joe Mixon. And then I've been hearing a lot about Andre Isovias. This guy is some sleeper guy. This guy can be something special, they said. But taking a punter was a little questionable in my opinion. But yeah, I'll give the Bengals a B plus here.
Yeah, we weren't together during the draft, but we were both thinking they're taking a tight end here. And they didn't. They took Miles Murphy, who fell to them, and they needed someone to go to put up on the other side with Trey Henderson. So I like the pick. I don't think he's going to be a day one starter because he needs to develop. He needs to get better at what he does, and that's bull rush. He needs to get better at it. DJ Turner to replace Eli Apple. We agree on that. And it's always a win when you take an Alabama secondary. Like some called them DBU. And Jordan Battle, I think he's going to be great for them. And then with the Purdue wide receiver Charlie Jones and Andre Orivis, they're both gonna. One of them's gonna be replacing Tyler Boyd because he's not re-signing there next year. This is the last year on his contract. I kind of like I like it. I'll give it an A minus. I'll give it an A minus. And then next we got the Cleveland Browns. I heard a lot of Browns fans saying they like Cedric Tillman. They needed another wide receiver. Donovan Peoples Jones isn't really the factor there. So I think Cedric Tillman's going to slide in to that number 2 spot nicely. They needed help on the D line, so they got Sika Ika. One of my favorite players, Daquan Jones, fell to him at 101-111. And then Luke Weichly, who I had the Bears taking in the second round, and taken in what I think that's the 7th or the 6th or something like that. So it's crazy that he fell all the way down there. I had him in the top 50 and he went 190. Crazy. So I'd give him a B plus for this. I'd give him a B plus for this draft.
Yeah. Obviously, not much excitement, I feel like, because you got the Sean Watson, Elijah Moore that cost your first and second round picks.
Yeah.
I like the Siaka, Ika, and Donald Jones picks. I think those are really good value for them. Like you said, Luke Whitebler, that was a really great value. They addressed some needs. Like I said, this is a team that really didn't have much to work with just because they got rid of all their picks. And overall, I mean, I give them a B minus. I think that they got some guys at some great value, but overall, I don't feel like this is a class that they'll be talking about Browns fans in the future. I feel like this kind of a class that doesn't really get talked about. Maybe one of these guys as a starter for them this year or next year, but other than that, I don't really see much potential from this Browns team. Next is the Cowboys. They had themselves a decent draft at 26. They go Mozzie Smith, and then 58, go with the Michigan tight end Luke Schoonmaker. Overall, I think I'm kind of getting Browns vibes here. This is a good class, but it's not really a class that I'm going to be excited about or I'm going to be, pumped about the potential. I think Mozzie Smith is the only guy who I would be really excited about. Other than that, I think Deuce Vaughn can be a really nice piece for them. Quick running back. With Tony Pollard out for a couple weeks, he could really be inserted into a pivotal role. But other than that, I don't know. This Cowboys draft didn't really get me on my feet or happy or just knowing that they're going to have a great future. So I'll give them a B for their draft.
Yeah, I agree. Mozzie Smith is really the only one to be excited about besides the Shoemaker. But I think they drafted Mozzie Smith a little high. I honestly think they could have got him the second. Uh, that's my opinion, of course. But it looked like Jerry Jones and them were very excited to draft him.
Yeah,
So we got to see what happens. I'd get what'd you grade it at?
I
I'm
gave him
gonna
a B. I gave him a B.
I'll probably give him a B minus because I'm not in love with the Macy Smith uh pick right there,
Yeah.
but I could see it. So and plus they got their tight end of the future in Luke Shoemaker. But let's move on to the Denver Broncos. Just like the Cleveland Browns, they did not have their first or second round picks. So they did. Hold on. They had their
No, they didn't. They
no.
did not have they had a first round pick, but they had to
Oh,
get
but
rid of it for Sean
oh yeah.
Payton. So they
Yeah.
only had third,
Uh,
third and beyond round picks.
yeah, okay. Yeah. So they got Marvin Mims for a very uh what would be the word? Loaded
Yeah.
wide receiver room. So I see someone in there getting drafted or traded soon. And then they got Drew Sanders, who we both thought would be the number one linebacker taken off the board, but he falls to 67. Let's get represented by Iowa cornerback Riley Moss, the first white cornerback to get drafted in God knows how many years. But let's go. But they used their capital to get Wilson,
Yeah.
to get Sander or to get Sean Payton. So it didn't blow me out of the water. I'm gonna give this probably the lowest grade at a C minus.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'll go C minus as well.
Yeah.
This team's in win now mode, so I'm not saying this draft doesn't matter, but they kind of aren't really looking to this team as this draft class as the future of this team. Like you
Yeah.
said, loaded receiver room. I know they're searching for trades, but I don't know. Drew Sanders, I thought was a steal. You get White, Darrell Revis, and Riley Moss. But other than that, there's really not much here to work with for
Yeah.
Broncos.
I
So I'll give them a
I
C.
really feel they could have taken someone else besides the wide receiver there. I think they need more help elsewhere.
Yeah. So now we'll go to the Detroit Lions, who had the most interesting draft class. All righty.
At, at least in the first round.
I think overall. So Jameer Gibbs, number 12. So the Lions, they traded back and they get Jameer Gibbs at 12. Don't know what you're doing. Now, this was before DeAndre Swift was traded.
Yeah.
Still doesn't make sense, in my opinion. Jack Campbell, we talked about how we had the guy from Arkansas,
Jack Sanders.
number one linebacker, but here they go, Jack Campbell at 18.
Yeah.
And what's even worse is they took Sam Laporta over Michael Mayer.
Yeah.
I don't get that. Brian Branch was a steal for them at 45.
Oh yeah.
I don't get Hendon Hooker because if you're going to get Hendon Hooker, he should probably start this year or the next.
No.
And
Next year.
well, he could.
Well, do you know after this year, there's no guaranteed money on Golf's contract.
Well, my point is that if you're going for Hendon Hooker, it's because you see him as a starter this year or next year. And I don't think the Lions do. I mean, he is a good backup. I think that is true. He's going to be a good backup for them. But I just don't think he was needed for them. But overall, I give them a D plus on this draft class, my lowest grade. The running back makes no sense. The linebacker pick makes no sense. And the tight end pick makes no sense. They traded Hawkinson. They took this dude over Mayer and Luke Musgrave, who's also better. But trading up for Brian Branch was smart. Hendon Hooker, like I said, we'll see what their plan is with him. Overall, you still get a D plus from me.
Yeah, I was watching this draft with our friends, and we all go, Jameer Gibbs at 12
Yeah.
when Bijan went 4 picks before him.
Yeah.
And we were even scratching our heads when they took Jack Campbell. We were expect this is blasphemy that those two players went in the first round. And I agree. They should have taken Michael Mayer here instead of Sam Laporta. But you got to remember, Iowa's TEU. So they know how to develop tight ends there. So they might see something that we don't. And then Brian Branch at 45, that's absolutely crazy. He
Yeah.
should have gone top 20, in my opinion. And he falls 25 spots. Unbelievable. And
Yeah. I'm just
Detroit,
shocked they didn't go Christian Gonzalez with that 12th pick.
me too. And we'll talk more
After
about
getting
Gonzalez.
rid of Okuda.
Yeah, we'll talk more about Gonzalez when we get to the Patriots. But getting Hendon Hooker, I like the pick there. Just because you took him in the first round and I was upset about that doesn't mean I didn't like Hendon Hooker. I like Hendon Hooker. He's gonna be a good starting wide receiver for a couple years. Let's just say that. Maybe a bridge guy for a team. But they they want to I think they want to get off of Golf's contract next year because
Yeah.
after this upcoming season, no guaranteed money left.
Mm-hmm.
They need and they want to sit Hooker for a year. They want to see what he can do in training camp. They want to see what they can do during practice, play the second team. They want him to learn from Golf, and I think Golf would be a good teacher for him. I don't think it's going to be like, oh, I don't want to teach this guy because he's going to take my spot. I think Golf's going to be a team player and help him out when needed. So besides the first 2 picks, it's not a bad draft. It's not. But I'm gonna go. You gave it a what? A D plus.
B plus.
I'll give it a C plus. I'll give it a C plus, mainly for that Brian Branch pick. I love Brian Branch
Yeah.
coming out. And here comes the Green Bay Packers head scratcher when they took Lucas Van Ness at 13. Oregon State tight end Luke Musgrove, who did he get taken before Mayer too? Or
Yeah.
did
No. After.
after? Okay.
Mayer was
So that
right before Laporta. It was like back to back tight ends.
okay. And then they take Jaden Reed out of Michigan State. Then they take another tight end in Tucker Kraft. I don't know what they're gonna do there.
Yeah.
They had a lot of picks. They had a lot of picks, especially in the later part of the draft. They took a kicker at 207 and Andres Carlson. Honestly, there's not much to say. Like, I think the Lucas Van Ness pick was a little he took him a little early. I think even if you stayed at 15, you could have got him there. I don't think he was going to go to Washington at or whoever was at 14.
Yeah.
So I think that was a wasted pick right there. I like the Musgrove pick if Mayer was off the board. I head scratching at the second tight end. And I'm not trying to be biased at all. I'm unbiased cap is on right now. But I'd probably give this like a C maybe. I just didn't like what they did the whole time. And I'm being generous with a C.
Yeah. And look, I had in my mock draft that they would trade up for a receiver. I mean, Jackson Smith and the Jigbo is right there for him. They had a chance to get him without trading anything. And they go defense, which is really confusing. You know, maybe it wasn't an Aaron Rodgers thing where the Packers wouldn't help the quarterback. Maybe it's just the front office is delusional. Luke Musgrave, I thought, it's a great value pick, but then Getting Tucker Kraft at 78, just a head scratcher. Taking a quarterback at 149, that's another head scratcher. Taking a kicker at 207, which probably means
Yeah,
Mason Crosby is done.
maybe. Yeah,
I'm at a C plus. Look, Lucas Van Ness is good, but when you
he's
have
developmental.
a chance to get Jackson Smith and the Jigba and
Yeah,
have a core of Najigba, Watson, and Dobbs, I mean that would have been amazing. And Luke Musgrave too. That and you have Aaron
yeah,
Jones, AJ Dillon, Jordan Love would have had a team to succeed with, but
yeah.
they just kind of I don't know. It kind of looks like they might be obviously a run heavy team this year. Two tight ends,
Speak.
they might run a lot of those packages.
Yeah, speaking of Jordan Love, he signed a 1 year contract for $22 million this year.
Yeah.
That that, and I think it's zero guaranteed. I don't think it's guaranteed at
Mhm.
all.
But
That's interesting because he gets $1 million more than the 5th year option,
mhm.
but way less guaranteed money. So that's suspicious.
Yeah,
I That's wild. Like you, I wonder if the Packers were like, "Hey, you sign this deal, or we're not accepting your 5th year option. You take this deal." And Jordan Love was like, "Okay, I'll do a prove it deal or something
mhm.
like that." So that's very confusing on why they did that.
Yeah, and then they drafted three receivers. So definitely going to be some competition there coming training camp.
Yeah,
But I'll give them a B minus. I think they got some guys that had some good value, but obviously there were some head scratching picks there for me.
yeah, absolutely.
Next is the Houston Texans, who made the biggest splash
Woo.
in this year's draft. Look, at two, we obviously heard, are they going to take quarterback? We didn't know. Could it be Will Levis? Could it be CJ Stroud? That's who it was. They took him. Everything was calm in the world. But then they trade up and get the number 3 pick and take the best
Oh
defensive
man,
player in Will Anderson. You
that's
gotta,
crazy.
you gotta, whether you love it or not, it's going to be, it's a big trade because, like we said, that trade could be a top 5 pick next year, and you
Yeah,
can get a lot for that pick. Nevertheless, we don't know how that's going to play out. But for right now, getting the arguably the best offensive and quarterback and the best defensive player, you're really setting up the foundation for your team. New
yeah.
coach, you're really setting
D'Amico
that up.
Ryan's.
I like the Tank Dell pick at 69.
Yeah,
Henry Koto at 167 is another good pick. Jarrett Patterson at 201 I like as well. I give them an A. They were aggressive. They have two guys who can really carry them. Two guys who can be leaders for this team for years. And look, they're ready to play some ball. They've got some guys on here who are going to start day one, especially their first two picks. And
yeah,
although like I said, we'll see what happens in next year's draft and where the Cardinals could be, because who knows, the Texans could be 11-5 or whatever the new, or 11-6, I should say.
yeah.
So I give them an A though. They were aggressive, and they've got two of the best players in this year's draft. I mean, how could you not like that?
Yeah, I think uh you I'm gonna give a grade for it, but I don't think you can fully grade this until you see how they play,
Yeah,
because that's a lot of the number one. It could potentially be the number one pick next year, depending on how everything goes. So I like I like the Stroud pick. In our last draft, I had him getting taken second. I had Will Anderson going third. So it all depends on how they do this upcoming year. If they say, as long as it's not top 10, I think it'll be worth it.
yeah,
So, two cornerstones with two picks back to back. I think they killed this draft. Just to know the final product of it, they gotta wait a year. They gotta wait until the end of the season next year. I like the Tank Dell pick. He's gonna line up nicely, catching balls from CJ now. Uh, the Dylan Horton pick, I liked. He's a big guy coming out of TCU. Let me go back to Anderson though. I feel like he could be JJ Watt, because JJ Watt was a little undersized coming out, same as Will Anderson. So there's some points that both of them lead to that you could tell that Will Anderson might be the next JJ Watt coming out of there. But I'd give it. What'd you get it? An A? I'd probably give it
Give
an
it
A
an
also.
A. Okay.
I'll go A as well. And here we go. The Indianapolis Colts. They take the flyer on Anthony Richardson at 4. We don't know what's going to happen with that. People say he's going to sit for a year, have Gardner Minshew start for the year. I think that's the correct move. I wouldn't let him touch the field no matter what. Even if Minshew went down, you don't put Richardson in there. You don't let him play.
Yeah.
That's my opinion, of course. And then they go DB with Julius Brent at 44 and Josh Downs at 79. Like I was earlier, a bunch of guys we had high on our boards fucking tanked and fell.
Yeah.
Like Northwestern no defensive tackle Odiwana Abuduan. We had him going to the Bears in the second round and
Yeah.
went 110. It's crazy how many people fell and went before. That's just how you know this draft was so medium in the barrel that we had low on our boards were high and high guys we had on our boards were low. So this just shows that we don't know anything. No one knows anything except for the GMs, the coaches, the owners. But sorry for that little rant, but back to the Colts. I kind of like what they did. They got some flyers in Josh Downs and Anthony Richardson. They got some good guys in Julius Brent and Blake Freeman. Blake Freeman's going to sure up that offensive line that's been kind of tanking for a couple of years now. And then they got Darius Rush out of South Carolina. He's going to be a ball hawk. I like this draft. I like it. I'm going to give it an A. I'm going to give it an A. I'm going to give it an A.
Yeah, same. They didn't really reach for anyone. Big question
Yeah.
was Will Levis or Anthony Richardson. Answer is Anthony Richardson. Julius Brent, Josh Downs. I mean, you go through the list, all these guys were either picked at the right spot or there were steals where they were taken at. So I thought the Colts did a really good job here. They got a bright future with this draft class, I feel like. Then you go to Jacksonville Jaguars. It's kind of a team that they're kind of set already, but obviously a lot of room. Anton Harrison is a great pick for them to protect Trevor Lawrence. They didn't really understand the next 2 picks and Brenton Strange and Tank Bigsby as you have Evan Ingram and Travis Etienne. Other than that, a lot of role players for this team, I feel like. No one really that's going to start day one, I feel like, besides Anton Harrison.
Yeah.
With that, I'm going to give them a B minus.
Yeah, I feel like they could have used some of those later picks to get some more proven guys, some more veterans that honestly that this team needs. They need more veterans on this team to help the younger guys and train them up to be veterans themselves. I think this would have been a great to not have a lot of picks and have more older vet guys on the team, but they didn't do that. But they did get one of the more upside guys in Antoine Harrison at 27. I thought they'd go more defense here, but to help out Trevor Lawrence, they took an offensive tackle. I'm not a big fan of Evan Ingram, honestly. So Brenton Strange isn't a bad pick in my opinion. Tank Bigsby, ETN, he's had injury concerns in the past. He tore his ACL his rookie year. And plus Tank Bigsby, I don't think he's going to be a gadget guy. We've talked about this. He's going to be a gadget guy. He's going to be what's his name? Who was the guy on the Bears?
Tariq Cohen?
Who? Tariq Cohen. Yeah, my bad. I just couldn't place the name. He's gonna be like Tariq Cohen for that team. He's gonna do the dirty work and everything like that. But I'm gonna stick to it. I think they should have used their later picks for more vets, and they didn't do that. So, in my opinion, this is a B minus draft for them. And then we go to the Kansas City Chiefs, where I think they reached on Felix Anulaki Uzama at 31. I think they could have got him at 55, where they got Rashad Rice. But I like Rashad Rice. He's gonna fit nicely in that group where Mahomes doesn't matter what the name on your jersey is, what number it is. If Patrick Mahomes is your quarterback, he's gonna put the ball where he wants it to be. So I like it. They shored up the offensive line in Wayne Morris. We got to see what he can do, and helping out that DB back room in Charmani Connor at 119. Uh, all in all, they didn't really need to do much. They just needed to reinsure some things, and I think they did that. So I got to give them like a minus for that.
Now we have the Chiefs here. I think you made a good point, Carl. Like, kind of did reach for that
Felix,
Felix the or draft pick,
yeah.
and then you made a good point. Really doesn't matter who you are. If you have Patrick Mahomes, you're probably gonna have a good season. And then Wayne Morris probably gonna assume that Orlando Brown role. Other than that, I think, decent job. I'll give them a B. I think obviously this is like another team that, they're in win now mode. They're not in
Yeah.
much of a. So next, now we have the LB Radars. Interesting one for them. Jimmy G is now their quarterback. I like the pick in Tyree Wilson. I think he's a great value.
Yeah.
Michael Mayer at 35 is an absolute steal. He will start day one as Darren Waller is gone. Byron Young at 70, another good pick. Trey Tucker, another good pick at 100. I thought the Raiders had themselves a quietly nice draft. I mean, having Tyree Wilson and Max Crosby now is going to be a nice duo on that defensive end. You got a lot of guys who can play day one, so I'll give the Raiders a B plus.
Yeah, I think you put it in a great way. They had a very nice draft. For the first time in a while, no one with like bad character traits that you know of. So I like it. Tyree Wilson, maybe the best upside in the draft. I think he needs time to develop, of course. With Michael Mayer at tight end, he's going to be Darren Waller's replacement. I think he's going to do well there. And I like the Aiden O'Connell pick out of Purdue. I think he's going to be a good backup for there. Jimmy G has bad injury history. He could start there. So I'm going to give him an A minus for it. They didn't splash us out of the water, but they had one of the better drafts in the league. And then we go LA Chargers. They get their wide receiver 3 in Quentin Johnson. They get linebacker Tui Lu 2. You know what I'm talking about. And then Washington State linebacker Darian Henley. They double dipped at the linebacker position with their first two or their two of the 3 picks. I like it. I like the Quentin Johnson pick. I like the Tuli pick. I'm gonna give them. I'll give them a B, a solid B for this.
Yeah, I think that another team that's basically win now, only really
Yeah.
need 1 or 2 players, and that's where Quentin Johnson comes into play. Now there are concerns about his hands, but when you're playing alongside Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, I think that you're going to have great success.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, a couple good role player picks. I mean, you got Diane Henley and Tuli Tupeluto, who can play with Kaiser White, Andrew Tranquil. Max Dugan goes there. Kind of interesting, but I'll give them a C plus. I think that this wasn't really as exciting, but for them, it doesn't need to be because they only needed a receiver. The Rams, this team is in a very rough spot because of all the money they are owing players and not much room for improvement, but I will give them credit for what they had to work with. I think Steve Avila at 36 was a great pick for them. Byron Young, Kobe Turner, good guys. Stetson Bennett at 128, I am shocked about.
Yeah.
Makes you think the future of Matthew Stafford is very short. Other than that, just a couple of picks. I like the Trevius Hodges Tomlinson pick. That's really it. They gave them an A minus, but I'm gonna give them a B. A very large draft class for them, and that needs a lot of young players. So I'll go with a B.
Yeah, I'm surprised on how many picks they actually had, considering, and they needed all these picks. None of them are going to be really bona fide stars, but they're going to be a lot of role players, and that's what the Rams need right now. They're very top heavy in that aspect of stars, so they needed a bunch of role players, and that's exactly what they got here. Nothing gonna splash you out of the water, nothing gonna rip over the top. But like you said, I think it was a good draft for them. I'm gonna give them a what do you say? I'm gonna say B plus.
I said B. I thought I said B.
No, my bad. You said B. My bad. I was looking at the grade, but yeah, I'll go B plus for them. And then with the Miami Dolphins, they didn't have. I personally didn't like this draft class for them. They had to forfeit their first round pick, because they talked to Tom Brady. And uh they had another first round pick, and that's how they got Bradley Chubb, right?
Yeah,
I think. Yeah. So they only had four picks in the whole draft. I didn't like the Cam Smith pick. I think they could have gone somewhere else because they just got Jalen Ramsey. I and then they took a running back in Devon Akon. I just didn't like this. I did not like this. I'll give it a D minus. Honestly, a D minus.
yeah, tough for them. You know, there were reports that Jameer Gibbs was available on day two. They would trade up for him.
Yeah,
But you get Cam Smith, I mean, it's a decent pick. Devin Ackney, great speed. I know Mike McDaniel will know how to handle that. Elijah Higgins at tight end. Dolphins got a lot of tight ends. So obviously, this is a team that's in win now mode with all the guys they got. So, I think that the only time we're really going to see these guys is if someone gets hurt or, death issues. So I'll give them a C plus just because these are good role players. Next, the Minnesota Vikings. They were at pick and they had Will Levis available and Hendon Hooker. But they give Justin Jefferson a good teammate to play with and Jordan Addison. A lot of people question if this guy was the best guy. Where would this guy rank? I think 23 is a great overall for them. Didn't have a second rounder because of TJ Hawkinson. So I still like the Mekhi Blackman deal and Jay Ward. They really went defense heavy, and as they should, because we know this offense can put up points. But you go DB heavy with Blackman and Ward, get a run stopper like Jacqueline Roy, even get a backup quarterback in Jaron Hall, who knows with Kirk Cousins, and then Dwayne McBride at running back. I'll give them a B plus. I think the Vikings are kind of one of those teams that, they don't really have huge holes, but they have little ones, and I think they addressed them the best they could with the picks they had.
you said it perfectly, Jack. They got what they needed and filled some holes. And I like the Jordan Addison pick. I thought they after this was what the fourth one in the row.
Third, I
They
believe.
for the wide receiver room or
No,
for
it
wide
was
receivers
third. No, it was third.
because
Smith
because
did what's the fourth?
it went snip or
Yeah, it might have been
Najibba.
fourth.
Either way, they got the wide receiver they wanted. I think Makai Blackman, he's going to be a good DB with Jay Ward also. Uh, you gave it a B plus.
Yeah.
I'll give it a B. I think they did well, and I think they can improve what they went on last year. And then here we go, the New England Patriots. They got my favorite DB in the draft, and Christian Gonzalez at 17 after trading back from 14 to get him at 17. I don't know why people. I don't know why Christian Gonzalez fell. People say that they had meetings with him and it was unmotivating. Some said so that's why he fell. People are saying, but I don't know what to say about that. But they also got Kion White at 46, and then Marte Mapu. He's gonna be good. They had a lot of picks. They took the first kicker off the board at 112. I don't know what that says. They are the they are the first team in the 2000s to take a kicker and a punter in the same draft class. You want to know the other team to do that and what year?
Let me hear it.
It was the 2000 Raiders, and they took Sebastian Janikowski
Oh,
and Shane Lecker.
nice.
So if history repeats itself, Chad Ryland and Bryce Bargainer are going to be a good pairing for a long time. But I'd give it just because of that Christian Gonzalez pick. I'm going to give him an A. I think Gonzalez is going to be the best corner to come out of this draft.
Yeah, it's kind of mind-boggling. He fell that low, and a lot of people had him in the top 10. Great
Yeah.
pick for them, obviously. Keanu
Mm-hmm.
White, another great pick. The kicker, very confusing. I think they got Keishawn Booty at a very good value at 187. I'll give them a B plus. I think Christian Gonzalez and Keanu White and Booty are great picks. But other than that, there's a couple other picks that I know were confusing, but they did take the first and only HBCU pick in Isaiah Bolden from Jackson State.
Yeah.
He was the only HBCU player taken in the draft. A couple
Mm-hmm.
were signed after, but he was the only
Yeah.
taken.
Only one to get drafted. Yeah.
So next is the New Orleans Saints, kind of another team that's in win now mode, but you know they did what they could. They got Brian Breesy. This kind of was a pick made in heaven. Everyone
Yeah.
clearly knew it.
At least we had always had him going there.
Isaiah Foskey at 40 is a great pick. I think they really
Yeah.
nailed it on the head with that. Alvin Kamara likely to be suspended, so they go for Kendre Miller, who had a great year. You go on offensive line. You get another Fresno State quarterback, so two of them in that QB.
Yeah.
A.T.
Yeah.
Perry
That's
is
wild.
another good pick. I
Mm-hmm.
like this. I give them a B. I think that the Saints are a very interesting team this year with Derek Carr. Obviously, the offense is going to be there. It's more about the defense, and they did that with their first two pick. They got two guys who are going to be day one starters, in my opinion.
Yeah, I like it. I everyone knew Brian Brees was going there. Isaiah Foskey, I really hope he fell to the Bears at one of the 50s picks, but he didn't. Kendre Miller, I think he's going to be a great. I think he'll be a starting running back in this league. And then the Fresno State quarterback Jake Hagner, I think that's how you say it. I like this draft for them. They didn't have a lot to work with, but I think they came out on top, and I'm going to give them an A minus with it. With it all being said. And then the New York Giants, they took Deontay Banks at 24. I like that pick. I thought they were going to go wide receiver here, but I don't think they were in love with anyone that were left after that four in a row wide receiver picks. So they went best corner available, and that was Deontay Banks. John Michael Schmidt, he got picked exactly where we thought he would be in the 50s. He's going to be a good center for them. They got their wide receiver in Jalen Hyatt, who fell a lot, about 40 picks. We had him. I had him in the late first round, and to see him go 73rd is crazy. They got a backup running back in Eric Gray right behind Saquon, who we don't know if he's going to be there next year. And then they got Jordan Riley, who's going to be a good deep tackle for them. All in all, being said, I think their first three picks knocked it out of the park. Uh, so I think I'll give them a B plus for everything, and you got to keep on the upside with all these guys.
Yeah, I think that you made a good point about how there's really no receivers for them to take. Deontay Banks and John Michael Schmidt's both great picks. Jalen Hyatt, well, this is not interesting after the draft because I don't know if you saw the video of the Cowboys coaches basically saying Jalen Hyatt is only fast.
Oh, really?
There's a video that came out. The Cowboys
Mm-hmm.
coaches kind of said he couldn't really run routes. So
Oh, wow.
some added obviously motivation there, obviously against the
Yeah.
Cowboys. But still, they need a receiver. They got him. Eric Gray at running back, interesting. It wasn't splashy. I'll give them a B plus. I think they got some guys that they needed, and we'll see if Hyatt can give Daniel Jones that help. Next is the Jets. Aaron Rodgers, obviously on the team, so they had to go with the 15th pick. Really shocked they did not go tackle here, but they
Yeah.
go edge on Will McDonald, who didn't even make our first round mock draft. Very
Yeah, well, not really.
very questionable pick.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, he has the potential to be really good, but getting Joe Tippmann and Carter Warren will help Brees Hall and
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, not much really was going on in this draft class. I'll give them a B minus. This is a team that's ready to win right now, even though they're very young. But I really would have liked them to go tackle at that 15th pick. I don't think edge was the right move there.
Yeah, I didn't think so either. I think I had Will McDonald in one of my mocks late in the first round, maybe going to like the Chiefs or something. Him going 15 is wild. I don't know what they were doing, but I like the Tippmann pick. I like the Carter Warren pick. Uh, and then the other guys are just gonna be def the guys for them. So I'll give it a C plus. Just because that McDonald pick is confusing to me. And here we go with probably the winners of the draft yet again. The Philadelphia Eagles. They trade up one pick with the Bears to get Jalen Carter. Then they take in the first round, they take his teammate in Nolan Smith at 30, who fell, I thought. And then they take a guy I thought the Bears would get at guard in Tyler Steen. And then they get another Georgia guy in Keely Ringo and a backup quarterback, Tanner McGee, and a guy I thought the Bears were going to get again, and Mojo or Moro Ojomo at defensive tackle. Did you hear the reports that a lot of other GMs were very upset on how much praise Howie Roseman was getting throughout the whole draft process?
Yeah, I heard
And
that.
and you know what I say to that? Just draft better. Do a
Yeah,
better job. Do what Howie Roseman's doing. Get proven winners, and then you'll become winners in the NFL. They got three really good Georgia defensemen in this draft. And
yeah,
what's Georgia known for? Defensemen.
Bulldogs.
So Bulldogs, exactly. It's now the Philadelphia Bulldogs. I think they killed this draft. I think this is the best draft in the draft class in the whole NFL besides the Bears, of course. But I think they splashed it out of the water. I'm going A plus.
Yeah.
I don't know if you don't give them an A plus, I'll be upset.
Let's not forget they also got DeAndre Swift in this draft for a fourth round pick.
They got yeah,
So I feel like this is going to be a very boom or bust draft class for them. I feel like there's a lot of guys on here who can be problems. Carter, Smith, Sidney Brown, Kelly Ringo, Mora Ojomo. Those guys can be huge picks, but they also can be busts. We have to keep that in mind. They can be busts. Yeah, I agree with you. And hey, you add DeAndre Swift to this offense. There were talks about Bijan Robinson, but hey, you get Jalen Carter and DeAndre Swift. And we talked about it because the Bears were in that ninth spot. They traded back.
yeah.
I think if Jalen Carter had a best fit, it would be the Eagles because
Mm-hmm.
it's a veteran team, but you're also surrounding him with former teammates of his. So guys who can keep him in check, guys who can make sure he's going to be okay. So I will give them an A as well. Pittsburgh Steelers, I thought they had one of the best drafts as well. Broderick Jones, you got to protect Kenny Pickett. That's what they do with that Chase Claypool trade. Joey Porter Jr., Pittsburgh's own, falls into their lap at 32. Then you get Keanu Benton at 49. Then you get Darnell Washington at 93. All around, I thought they had a top five draft class this year. A for them. They did really well. They got their holes and they got guys who fell to them. None of these picks were reaches at all. All these guys, I believe, were picked in the right area.
Yeah, I agree with that. I do think they are all developmental players though. I I think everyone you just named, Roger Jones, Joey Porter, Keanu Bennett, Darnell Washington, I think they all need time to develop. I'm gonna give it also an A. I'll give it an A also, but you got to see if they develop into the guys you drafted them to be.
Yeah,
I think at one point they will all be instant starters for them, no doubt starters. But right now, they got to develop, they got to get better. Joey Porter falling to 32 is wild to me, but
Yeah.
I'll give it an A also. And then with the next pick is the San Francisco 49ers. They did not have a second or first or second round pick, and they're in win now mode also. So they didn't really need to splash it out of the water here. They just needed some role players. And I think that's what they did. They got J.R. Brown, safety. They took I think this is the first kicker off the board, and Jake Moody, who will be replacing Robbie Gould, who is no longer with the team. And they got tight end Cameron Latu out of Alabama. They took two tight ends actually, which is concerning for George Kittle. I don't know what's going on there. George Kittle's not even 30, right? So
Yeah.
I don't know what they're doing there. They took Ronnie Bell out of Michigan. Like I said, no splashes out of the water. I'll give him a C for this. Nothing too special, but nothing too terrible with it. But I'll give him a C.
Yeah. I mean, team that's ready to win now. So not many splashy picks. Guys who can be good role players. You mentioned it, Jake Moody at kicker, Robbie Gould. Who knows what's going to happen with him? But I mean, the reason why they don't have picks is because they got guys like Trey Lance and Christian McCaffrey. So I think they're okay with that. I'll give them a C. Like I said, nothing splashy, but just role players for depth. Seattle Seahawks now, interesting team. We thought they might go Jalen Carter at 5, but they get a much needed Devon Witherspoon. This pick comes from the Denver Broncos. He was one of the best secondaries in the draft class, him and Christian Gonzalez. You can make the case. In Seattle, they gave up a lot of passing yards last year. And, Devon Witherspoon is going to fit in very nice there. Jackson Smith and the jig ball falls to 20. Talk about a receiver, maybe one of the best receiver trios in the NFL. Metcalf, Lockett, and Smith and Jigba. Doesn't get
Yeah,
better than that. Derek Hall, a nice edge rusher. Zach Charbonnet at 52. I saw a report before the show that said there will be competition between him and Kenneth Walker. So interesting to see that. Other guys down the list, guys who can really fit in well. Kenny McIntosh at 237, another running back. But day one, they killed it. I give them an A minus. I thought those first two picks are as good as you can do for having two first round picks in the top 20.
absolutely. I think they killed it. Devon Witherspoon, people say he's the best corner in the draft. I think he's second best. Jackson Smith, undoubtedly the number one wide receiver. I think they needed another wide receiver too because people are saying Tyler Lockett's going to fall off at some point. People said he was going to do that 2 years ago, and guess what? He's still chugging along. But I like it. Jackson Smith's going to be a good slot guy for him there. Derek Hall, he's going to be a good pass rusher. Zach, well, how do you uh,
Charbonnet.
Char- Charbonnet? He's going to put in competition with Walker. Walker, uh, he had a great rookie year, but I don't think he should be given the keys to the city right away at the running back spot. I think they killed it. I like the Mike Morris pick there at 151. I'll give it an A. They did really well, and I think it's gonna prove why Pete Carroll is one of the better coaches in the league with this draft class. And then the Tampa Bay Bucks, they went Kalijah Kancey at 19. They got the probably the poster boy for this whole draft and Cody Mosh, and then Yaba Dabi at edge. I think they had a really good draft. I think they really did. They shored up that defensive line. I think they play a 4-3.
Mm-hmm.
So Cansey's going to play right next to Via Veda. I think that's a good pick. Cody Mosh is going to fit right into there next to whoever the center is. I think they had a good draft. I think they could have got more weapons for Baker or Trask there, but I don't think they see them as the future at quarterback there. But I like I like the draft here, so I'll give it a B, solid B.
Yeah, Kalijah Kancey is getting those Aaron Donald comparisons. Obviously hard to ignore. Cody Mauch, protect the quarterback. Yaya Dibby, it's sort of a Dennis guy who could maybe replace Devin White. Not a bad draft class for this team that's got. It's weird. They're built to win now. They just don't have the quarterback to do it now. So I'll give them a B plus. I think they had some good picks in there. Next, the Tennessee Titans, who arguably had another. I think, in my opinion, this is a top five class once again.
Oh,
Gronsky at 11. People say he's got Zach Martin capabilities. So you give him, and it allows you to block for Derrick Henry, and as well as the future quarterback, whether that's Tannehill, Malik Willis, or their second round pick in Will Levis. I cannot believe that he fell all the way to number 33, a guy who I think he was the favorite to be the second pick or the second quarterback pick. And for him to fall all
yeah,
the way to 33, the Titans knew that they had to jump on him while they could. And I really like what they did there. We'll see. The Titans said that he is QB3 right now, but he has
yeah,
every opportunity to work his way up into the depth chart. So Tyjae Spears at 81, kind of questionable. Josh Wiley at 147. Kind of other than those first two picks, but I just think those first two picks are so valuable for them to win right now in a weak division. And now, if you think about it, the AFC, that division, the Titans, Colts, Texans, and Jags, all young quarterbacks. Three of the four quarterbacks were in this year's draft class, and they were three of the four top quarterbacks in this year's draft class. So young quarterbacks in every team for this division, which I find very interesting. So Will Levis, Anthony Richardson, Trevor Lawrence, and CJ Stroud. It really doesn't get any better than that for the future of quarterbacks in the NFL.
yeah. It's crazy.
Well, I also
Like you,
give them a B plus. B plus. Sorry, I didn't
oh,
get that
B
correct.
plus. Okay. Uh, yeah. This is wild. I don't think you've ever seen a four-team division this young at quarterback, and
Yeah.
I think at some point this might be uh the best division in the whole league. It's kind of been in the mud for the past couple of years, so seeing all of them with young quarterbacks finally is a nice sight for so rise. But I like the Peter Skonowski pick there. I like they traded up for Will Levis, but everything else they had four other picks didn't really light me on fire. Uh, I I gotta give him a B plus just for the Skoronsky and the Will Levis pick. Like I agree with you with that. So not much to say about it.
This is the last team.
And then the finally we are talking about the Washington Commanders who went not even best cornerback available at 16 with Emmanuel Forbes. And then they went back to the defensive back in Jartavius Miller Martin at 47, and then center Ricky Stromberg at 97. I don't know what they did here. I don't know what they did. They had a chance to really splash out of the water. I think they needed a splash out of the water considering the team's going to get bought soon, have a new owner. I don't think they did anything to spice up uh, any more excitement for this team. I don't really have much to say about them. I'm going to give them a C minus.
Yeah, very confusing. At 16, you could have taken Will Levis or Hendon Hooker. I guess they trust Sam Howell. I don't
Yeah,
know why, but Emmanuel Forbes wasn't even the best secondary, and he was taken. He used I don't know.
he was taken before Christian Gonzalez.
I'll give the Commanders a D. Just
Yeah.
nothing about this draft class makes me excited for this franchise. I think a lot of these guys they reached for,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, not looking good about that, as we talk about the draft. Probably going to be the only thing to talk about today, with that being
Yeah.
said. Well, for the Bears, now we'll go into the Bears because we only touched on it a little bit. What's
Uh-huh.
interesting is that their in-season trades from this past year are complete. To let you know what that means. So Robert Quinn trade, that pick turned into Tyler Scott. They basically traded Chase Claypool and Joey Porter Jr. They got Gervon Dexter and Noah Sewell for Roquan Smith. We already know about the Bryce Young deal. And then they got Darnell Wright in a 2024 fourth rounder for Jalen Carter. So for those in-season trades that we saw and talked about, those are finally complete for the Bears.
Yeah.
For all of that, I think obviously, Carl, the biggest thing we'll talk about, number 9, you're sitting there. Jalen Carter falls to you. He's available.
Uh,
The
oh
Adam
man.
Schefter, his big face on the screen,
Yep.
and we have a trade, and it's the
Uh-huh.
Philadelphia Eagles trading their 10th pick and a fourth rounder. We learned that the Bears were never going to take Jalen Carter at 9. It seemed like their eyes were on Paris Johnson, but then it was Darnell Wright after Johnson was taken.
Yeah.
Obviously, we've kind of talked about this a bit. You
Yeah, we
obviously
didn't have
instantly pissed off, probably, but
oh man.
what what are your thoughts through this? Is it the right move? Is this
Uh,
something that could haunt the Bears for a while?
do you want right away analysis or do
What
you
do
want
you
my day
just
after?
give me your analysis?
Okay, so at the moment, pissed. Absolutely pissed. Because Jalen Carter was there. He was there for us. And then we went with Darnell Wright, who we really didn't even have in the first round at all. But he flew up draft boards within the last 2, 3 days of the draft. And to see Paris Johnson go 6 kind of hurt because like he was flying up boards too, which was unbelievable. But at the day after analysis is all that matters. I think that was the correct pick in Darnell right there. I think it was the right pick to not take Jalen Carter. Ryan Poles came out and said he's a big characteristic guy.
Yeah.
And I think Jalen Carter had one of the worst characteristics in this draft class. So being able to get one of the best linemen in this draft, get a fourth round pick next year, and avoid Jalen Carter all in one, I I I fucking give it up for Ryan Poles there. Fantastic. We just got to see if it pays out now.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, instant reaction. I was obviously pissed off. The guy that we could have got at 1 falls all the way
Felden.
to 9.
Yeah.
But after, you digest it and think about it, it wasn't a fit for the Bears because look, this is a guy whose dedication and wanting to be there is in question. I mean,
Yeah.
after that Georgia Pro Day, you really didn't know if this guy was serious about football. So if you put him on the Bears, you're putting him with a bunch of other young guys and no one he can really learn from. And I feel like he could really, it wouldn't have gone well. The Eagles, veterans, a lot of Georgia players, it helps him. It's more of a fit. And for the Bears, they made this draft pretty simple. They said, look, we're not flashy. We're getting what we need, though. And that's what they did this whole draft class. They
Mm-hmm.
attacked almost every need. The edge was not
Yeah.
addressed. We'll
Yeah.
talk
The edge
about it.
was not touched.
But they got their offensive tackle. The offensive line is set. Maybe they'll sign
Mm-hmm.
a center. That's very in question. Who sees? Who knows? They get their defensive tackles. They get their secondary. You get a receiver, So, look, do you get those big names that are going to sell the jerseys? No. But you do get guys who are going to make an impact on this team and guys that you needed. Now, we wonder why hasn't Ryan Poles spent more money in free agency? This is why. Because you're able to go in the draft. Look, if you want Orlando Brown Jr., you're going to have to give you're going to have millions of dollars. You get Darnell Wright. Look, Orlando Brown is better, but a young Darnell Wright who has a lot of praise from scouts and players, including Jalen Carter and Will Anderson.
Mhm.
It allows you attack in my opinion, there's only one more need the Bears need to address, and that's edge. The
Yeah.
Bears have all this money now to address the edge. And that's where the guy from the Colts, Yannick Ngakoue, comes into play,
Yannick Ngakoue.
or Javion Clowney. We'll talk about that. But the point is, Ryan Poles had a plan coming into this draft, and he executed that plan. And I think that's
Yeah.
very important to state because this is a Bears team that can get better in almost every position, obviously.
Hmm.
But they did what they needed to do. They have given Justin Fields probably the best offense the Bears have had since Jay Cutler was the quarterback.
Yeah.
You have a three-headed monster in the running back room. You have a three-headed receiver trio that can be really well. And you have a lot of guys who can compete for that fourth spot. I mean, we'll talk about that, but I just believe the execution was A plus by Ryan Poles. Now he's
Yeah.
going to go in with the rest of free agency, get himself an edge. But I think the biggest question as we go through these draft picks, you go to Tyler Scott. Is he your number four? Because there's Velas, there's Dante, and St. Brown. Who do you go with the number four guy? Who's your number four guy?
Well, I think I think this is more of a future pick.
Yeah.
I Right now I'd say he's probably five.
Mm-hmm.
He,
But who is
either
four then? Who is four?
either Equiminius or Nikhil Harry.
Yeah.
I think he needs to build his way up. I don't think he should be just given playing time. I think he needs to earn it. But I think this is more of a next year pick
Mm-hmm.
because both Claypool and Mooney are gonna not have a contract, and I don't think Poles is gonna pay both of them. It also depends on how both of them play this year. I Right now I'd probably say they probably sign Claypool over Mooney
Yeah.
just for the fact that they traded for Claypool and haven't seen him in full potential in a Bears uniform.
Yeah.
Because you've seen what Mooney can do, and it's not number one stuff. It's
It's barely.
honestly
It's barely.
it's bare. I was just gonna say barely number two stuff. So Claypool has a higher ceiling, but uh Mooney has a higher floor.
Yeah.
So back to the Tyler Scott thing though. I think he's gonna start 5 or 6 on the depth chart, and he's gonna have to build his way up. I think he's got to show off on special teams, show off on the little hitch plays, little screen passes that they give him. And if he does well on those, he'll get more playing time as the four, the three or the four.
Yeah, it's definitely a loaded receiver room, which you really aren't able to say as a Bears fan these past years. I think that Scott will work his way up as a receiver four. I don't think he'll start by but the end of the year he will be a receiver four, in my opinion. I think
Yeah,
St. Brown gets the nod
yeah,
at four. Him or but yeah, so obviously Velas Jones kind of kicked to the curb, more of a special teams guy, if even. But I like the Tyler Scott draft pick. Like I said, I don't think at first he's the four, but definitely give him some time. I feel like Tyler Scott's about that. It's going to have one of those games where it's like 2 catches for 100 yards and a touchdown or
yeah,
something, and they're going to give
yeah,
him a chance after that. So,
yeah,
Speedy guy, great pick. I mean, if you look at all the Bears picks, the one thing in common is they're fast for their
yeah.
size. And, talk about edge rushers. There is a guy fast for his size who you can maybe get for a cheap deal. Javion Clowney. We talked about it. There's two guys I think the Bears are going to target. It's these two guys at edge. Clowney older, I believe, more injury prone in a way.
Yeah.
Not really injury prone, but more injured. But you can get a lot out of him. Now,
Mhm.
Chase Young is available for trade. I don't think it's worth it.
Well, they did decline his 5th year option, so he will be a free agent next year.
That is part A is that you would only have him for 1 year.
I
He,
think,
he's injury prone.
yeah, that's true.
And there is a reason why the Commanders didn't pick up that 5th year.
Well, one, Commanders are dumb and they're a terrible franchise.
Well, yeah, but
That
still,
I think if we can get them for maybe that fourth round pick from the Eagles,
I would do that.
yeah, I would do that too. And
Anything
then,
more, I wouldn't.
uh,
Anything more, I wouldn't do it.
not even a third.
No, I
No.
just don't think there's any value there. I like I said, I would rather go out and sign Yannick or Clowney,
Uh
save
huh.
our picks, because who knows? Like that pick can be used a third round to get a good receiver for us if needed.
Mm-hmm.
But my point is that he had a major injury, let's not forget, and then he got injured again.
Yeah.
He's going to be expensive. Let's not forget. He's going to be
Mm-hmm.
pricey. I would
Yeah.
prefer if we went the Yannick or Clowney route. And then maybe you wait for next year's draft to get an edge. Or who knows, you give them a prove it deal and they
Yeah.
go and then you sign them again. Yannick knows Eberflus, played with him and everything.
Yeah.
I feel like he will be a Bear by the start of next or the season that Yannick is going to be a Bear.
Yeah. I prefer Yannick over Clowney just
Yeah.
for the fact Yannick's younger, he would cost less,
Yeah.
and Clowney more. He was more of a bust than anything. He'd never lived up to his number one overall potential, and I think Clowney just doesn't have the drive or the characteristics you see needing on this Bears team.
Yeah.
Even though he's been in the league for what 10 years now.
Mhm.
I don't consider him a vet, honestly, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yannick, I feel a vet who could help these young guys train, coach them up, uh, help out the guys, and be a leader for this team. I don't see Clowney being that. We need a leader, and that's more Yannick than Clowney in my books.
I'd be very shocked if an edge wasn't added to this team because
We need one because also we
so
got to resign DeAndre Houston Carson.
to go a full draft without taking one edge tells me something.
Yeah,
It also tells me if Yannick goes to the Bears, it's more than 1 year.
it might be a 2 or 3 year deal.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the fact that they didn't even draft one, that
yeah,
tells me that they have something planned. Trade, signing, whatever the case may
mm-hmm.
be,
Yeah,
there's something there that they have planned. I will say this, my favorite pick is probably the Stevenson pick, the
yeah.
secondary.
Mine too, probably.
I really like him. I think that if he can really evolve to what the Bears want, him, Gordon, and Johnson could be huge.
Crazy.
I like them a lot. I had him in a couple of my mock drafts, and I'm glad the Bears addressed that need early in the
Mm-hmm.
draft rather than later.
The only thing I'm worried about with him is the injury concerns. That's
And
why he fell. If he
yeah,
didn't get injured, he would have been a first round pick.
and it is important to remember the Bears do have some options there from last
Mm-hmm.
year. Now, let's second to last talking point.
Mm-hmm.
Rashawn Johnson, running back out of Texas, the backup for Bijan,
Mm-hmm.
a now loaded RB room, Khalil Herbert, Donta Foreman, Rashawn Johnson.
I've been thinking about
I
this.
guess the number one question is how do you split the carries here?
I've been thinking about this. I have been. Khalil Herbert, injury history. Deontay Foreman, injury history.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be Roshan Johnson's room day one.
Hmm.
I think he's going to, not, I shouldn't say day one, my bad. I think by week 5 or 6, he's going to be the number one guy there. I think Herbert, I love Herbert. I love Herbert, but I think he's too injury prone. Roshan Johnson, not a lot of miles on his wheels at Houston or at Texas because he was the backup to Bijan. If Roshan Johnson was the number one in Texas, he would have been a first round pick. Guaranteed. I guarantee it. With the way Jahan Gibbs went in the at 12, Roshan Johnson would have been a number one first round pick. So to get him in the fourth round, absolute steal. He's gonna be a back for us for years if he doesn't get injured, of course.
Khalil Herbert's my number one by far. I think that he's been so good when given the opportunity. I will say Foreman is going to be a yard and inches running back or goal line running back. I
Mhm.
feel like that's when we're only going to see him. I don't think he's going to be out there. I think Rashawn Johnson will play more snaps. I think Foreman's going to be more of that bulldozer guy. If you need a yard or an inch or a touchdown,
Third down,
yeah,
third down
goal
back.
line, you give it to Foreman. I
Yeah.
can see what I can see is Johnson blooming out of the third down rule. Third and
Uh
8,
huh.
put him out there, give him a pass or run, whatever the case may be. But I do think this is Khalil Herbert's backfield. He is playing on a contract here, basically. If he wants that new deal, he's going to want to go off. And let's not forget how well Khalil Herbert has played when given the opportunity. I mean,
Yeah, that's true.
wasn't he? He was like third in rushing after like week 4.
I think so.
I
Somewhere around
think
there.
that Johnson, look, it's going to be hard for him. This is which is good. I mean, it is great to say the Bears have a crowd anything right now. But at the end of the day, I think it is Khalil's backfield. I think Foreman gets those short yard touches, but definitely can see Johnson get in there, whether it's screenplays or
Yeah.
third and eights. So
Just like Tyler Scott, he needs to earn it.
yeah, and I believe he will. I think spring or not spring training, Jesus, preseason is going to be fun to watch. I
Preseason.
mean,
Yeah.
I was reading this tweet in preseason, the Bears lineup or roster is going to be DJ Walker, Rashawn Johnson, Tyler Scott, a lot of Darnell Wright. There's going to be a lot of young pieces to watch in training camp and preseason. That's going to be fun. I don't think we had this much fun watching preseason in a while. I mean, the Bears got a lot of guys who people want to watch, and they're deep. The Bears, and they definitely address
Yeah.
that. So the final topic: the draft is over. Let's rank our team from best or worst to best in the NFC North.
Ooh,
Number
okay.
4. What is number 4, Carl?
Uh I'd have to put the Green Bay Packers.
Okay.
I'd have to put the Green Bay
Explanation.
Packers. Explanation:
Anything?
Un- unproven quarterback. No real weapons on the receiver core. They got a good defense, but that it's not going to carry them into anything if the offense is not going to be out there for too long.
I will say, for my rankings, all these teams are very close. It's not like
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Packers for me as far as well. They're young. They've got a squad around Jordan Love, but like you said, very unproven.
Yeah.
Quickly to third, I am going
I
Chicago Bears there right now.
okay.
Look, as much as I want to say they're first, we don't know what this team is capable of. Now, with
Yeah.
that being said, this is easily a team that can win a division. Justin
Yeah.
Fields does what he does with the offense he has. The defense will struggle, but
Yeah.
if we can see development from those guys, that's what's important. So
Hmm.
I picked the Bears third. There's a lot of variables that we don't know yet, but if all goes right, with the schedule they have, they can easily be in a wild card spot.
Yeah, I'm gonna put I will also put the Bears there.
Yeah,
We if we can have a offense that can score quickly, and I think we do, that's gonna give defense more our defense more time to develop, be on the field, uh, and hopefully get some three and outs, and then the Bears score quickly. But I'd have to put them third right now because they're unproven. They they got to show something this year to show why they can win the division
yeah.
and be tops in the NFC, not just the NFC North and NFC. In second, I gotta go Minnesota
Hmm.
just because they went 14-3 last year or something like 13-4.
Yeah.
A lot of those games were one score games, and you don't once you win all those games one year, you don't win them the next. And for our whole lives, Minnesota has been good one year, awful the next year, good one year, awful the next year. And I
Yeah.
see that trend continuing. I think they're going to be a bottom tier team, but I can't put them under the Bears or the Packers right now because both teams are unproven.
And I got the Lions at 2 actually.
Yeah.
Young team, a lot of mistakes can happen. Can Jared Goff do what he did last year? That's the big question for them. That's going to be very hard. The receivers I still don't like because it's only Armon Ross St. Brown. That's kind of really it. Running back room should be good. The defense should be all right, but I have the Vikings number one as obvious. I mean, they just have the best playmakers. You know, saying Delvin Cook is still on the team. You know, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, Kirk Cousins still finds a way to win. TJ Hawkinson, you know, I get what you're saying. Like a lot of those close wins are never, they're never,
Yeah. They
go to,
never transfer.
yeah,
They
they
never
never
transfer.
transfer. But I just feel like who has the most skilled players right now, who has the most players that are playing to their fullest potential, it is the Minnesota Vikings right now. Now, like I said, that could easily change. I mean, who knows? The Packers could have themselves a great year. So it's a division that's very close. I know you've got the Lions at number one. I'd be curious
Yeah.
why is that?
Well, they were up on. Okay, so they missed the playoffs last year by one game. The year before that, they weren't a good team, but the culture was really good.
Yeah.
Culture was really good last year. I think the culture is going to be even better this year with Dan Campbell. I think Dan Campbell's already a top 10 coach in the league.
Oh,
Even though he's the Lions head coach, I fucking love Dan Campbell.
yeah.
He's a real tough guy, but he knows how to have fun, and that's what you need in a coach. Someone who can be strict but can also see the fun in things. I think he's going to carry them. I think Dan Campbell's going to win Coach of the Year this year. I honestly think that. I think they're going to have a great season. I think Jared Goff's going to do what he needs to do, uh, and lead them to the playoffs. Maybe not win a game, but get them to the playoffs. Maybe the wild card. Uh, but it's going to be enough to where Jared Goff transfer that to Hendon Hooker, and Hendon Hooker gets them over the top the next year. But I think they have a lot of playmakers. Jameson Williams is going to be out 6 games because of the gambling thing, but they still have Amon Ra. They have David Montgomery. They have Jameer Gibbs now. Jameer Gibbs can play wide receiver if they need to. He's that electric.
Yeah.
So that defense is good too. I know they got rid of uh
Kuda.
Jeff Okuda, but he was injury prone and he didn't show it on the field at all. So I think they're going to be really good, and I think they'll win the division. As of right now, I think they win the division.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
that's probably it for us. I mean, we promise we'll talk about the
Yeah.
MLB next week.
Sorry.
Next week we will talk about that. We
Yes.
probably have any NFL news to talk about next week.
Any other news that happened in the NFL? We talked about the Jordan
Henry
Love.
Ruggs pleaded guilty.
Oh, he did?
He did.
Good.
That's all I got.
We talked about the Jordan Love thing. That just broke today.
Yeah.
I actually looked at it. He's guaranteed out of the 22, he's guaranteed like 13,
Okay.
which is far less than what he was guaranteed on the 5th year deal. Because
Yeah.
I think the 5th year deal is fully guaranteed.
Interesting.
So it's a lot less money than what he would have got with the 5th year option. But I think that'll wrap it up for us today. Next week, no football talk, all basketball, all baseball, maybe a little hockey sprinkled in there. But that's going to be it for us. We're the Shy City Boys. I'm Carl Liza. That's Jack Thiel. And we'll see you next week.